Islands, by and large, are stunningly lovely places situated in seas around the world. They are the stuff outlandish getaway dreams are made of. This, nonetheless, doesn't imply that they are invulnerable to odd episodes or unsolved riddles. On this rundown are 10 islands with baffling riddles that stay right up till today. 10 metal items in potatoes, Prince Edward Island. In 2016, police were brought in to research an instance of potato altering in Prince Edward Island after a family found a sewing needle in a dish of potatoes they had stripped and cooked. This came after a spate of potato altering occurrences in 2014 during which a few metal articles, including needles, were found in potatoes starting from the island. At the time, the national government vowed $1.5 million to put resources into metal identification gear, and the common government added $500,000 to prepare additional staff to survey and investigate potatoes for outside objects. Farms influenced by the abnormal episodes revealed misfortunes of more than $1 million. Until this point in time, nobody has been ensnared in the potato wrongdoing and the secret of who might stick metal articles in spuds. Proceeds. 9. Robbery in previous outsider settlement, Spinalonga. Spinalonga is an uninhabited island in the Gulf of Alaunda. It is known for being one of Europe's last dynamic outcast settlements after the last occupant left in 1962. Today it is a famous vacation destination in light of its old post and shallow water beaches. The best way to get to the island is by pontoon, which is actually what unidentified burglars did in 2018. They showed up on the island, purportedly around evening time, and took around €50,000 from the safe situated in the watchman's room. Examination uncovered that force devices were utilized to break into the safe. The island has no power in this way, no caution framework exists, and as there are no convenience alternatives, the security watches leave at 6:30 each day. To date, the hoodlums have not been recognized. 8. The surrendered Ghost Palace Hotel, Bali. The Pai Bedugal Taman Rekrisi Hotel and Resort, better referred to nowadays as the Ghost Palace Hotel, was worked in the 90s and afterward relinquished. This clearly before it at any point opened. It presently sits dim and desolate nearby a mountain edge while hypotheses flash around about what may have happened there. Some occupants tell a story of a land engineer so defeat with eagerness that he got associated with degenerate strategic approaches and in the end came up short on cash. He at that point opted for non-payment after his inn got reviled as ramification for his malicious deeds. Another, creepier, hypothesis has it that the lodging was useful and had paid laborers and paying visitors, however that each and every one of them vanished suddenly and completely one night, leaving just their anxious phantoms to meander the spot forever. It is accepted that the spooky guests could likewise be ascribed to workers who had to chip away at building the lodging until they dropped dead. Whatever the genuine explanation is for the retreat being surrendered, still can't seem to be uncovered. 7. Time travel or only a dreadful story? Tenerife. On the island of Tenerife untruths Barranco de Badajoz, a gorge where a few Guanche mummies have been discovered, making it a significant site for archaeological research purposes. Eclipsing its noteworthy hugeness, in any case, are the various reports of bizarre and paranormal movement. A few guests to the gorge have asserted that at specific focuses, time appears to stop when sunsets and watches quit working. Others have announced seeing unexplained lights fluttering over and through the gorge, while some professed to have seen tall otherworldly creatures wearing white. One of the most rehashed stories is the one about the young lady who visited the gorge looking for leafy foods essentially vanished, apparently like a phantom. Search parties discovered nothing to uncover her destiny and the inquiries were in the long run cancelled. After 20 years, the young lady essentially returned, looking as if she had not matured a day since her puzzling vanishing 2 decades sooner. She told local people she had just been away for a couple of hours and was stunned to discover that 20 years had passed. These stories have advanced the world over to the degree that Barranco de Badajoz is currently considered on par, as far as creep factor, with the Bridgewater Triangle in Massachusetts. Do individuals truly observe into different domains while visiting the gorge? Or then again, are these all simply unnerving stories intended to engage? 6. Lost Nessie, Magnetic Island. In 2013, beachgoers on Magnetic Island were flabbergasted to see a beast-like article show up in the sea off Picnic Bay. Neighborhood inhabitant, David Heron, snapped a photograph of the item and chose it looked a ton like the popular Loch Ness beast. He additionally concluded that he would call it Lost Nessie. The locating is as yet unexplained in 2020, however most accept that the most sensible clarification for the beast-taking after article could be the remaining parts of a monster pontoon that had sunk the prior week during a race. By the by, at that point, individuals with any clarification for the locating were encouraged to approach. Also, without any clarification other than the previously mentioned indented mythical beast vessel, some stick to the conviction that Nessie had stayed with hotter waters subsequent to discovering things apiece excessively crisp in Scotland. 5. Death of a loner, Great Barrier Island. On the 30th of June 1999, the deteriorating collection of 51-year-old Colin Michael Good was found in his home Close Claris on Great Barrier Island. Good's correct hand was missing, and the remaining parts of his pooch were found close to him. Preceding the disclosure, Good had been seen once and for all in April 1999. He was a known cannabis cultivator and had been attacked and ransacked of cash and cannabis in 1991. 2 rifles were found in the room where the horrible revelation was made, however it was immediately verified that Good had not passed on of discharge wounds. Indeed, no reason for death could be built up considerably after broad and extensive posthumous assessments. The case developed cold after some time and remains that path today, without any suspects at any point distinguished or caught. 4. Disappearance from Heaven, Hawaii. There are a ton of shocking stories encompassing the ideal heaven that is Hawaii, including the frightening night marchers, the phantom of the lady in the red dress and the choking ghost of Waikiki. In any case, it is the genuine unsolved riddles that really sends a chill down one's spine. For this situation, it is the lamentable story of Diane Suzuki. 19-year-old Diane Suzuki was a move teacher who lived in Halawa, worked at the Rosalie Woodson Dance Academy and dated Lester Ganton. Diane was arranging an outing toward the north shore of Oahu after work on Saturday 6 July 1985. Her last class finished at 1500 and at 15:15 a companion showed up at the institute to get her. Diane was mysteriously absent. Her vehicle was still where she had left it that morning and her keys and handbag were inside. After her folks were advised of their girl's vanishing, they stayed outdoors outside the institute in their vehicle trusting she would appear. During that time, they saw a man named Dewey Hamasaki, just as his dad and sister, conveying a trunk and stowing it in a vehicle. Dewey was known to really like Diane and functioned as a picture taker at the institute. He was available when she gave her last exercise. Dewey was addressed and the swamp around his home looked. An absence of proof prompted him never being captured or charged. 5.5 years after the fact, garments looking like what Diane was wearing the day she vanished, were found on a pig ranch possessed by Dewey's dad. Frustratingly, after this revelation, the suspects, Dewey, his dad and sister, just as around 100 observers were brought before a fantastic jury, yet at the same time the court declined to squeeze charges. Diane Suzuki's remaining parts have never been found. Her mom kicked the bucket in 1997 while never discovering reality with regards to her little girl's vanishing. 3. Sea Jeans, Baffin Island. In 2017, a photograph of an enormous stone development in Canada's Arctic drew a wide range of consideration as it takes after a monster pair of jeans. The stone was shot by a tracker, Max Kalik, around 90 kilometers south of the Arctic Bay People Group. It is just reachable by pontoon throughout the late spring and is evaluated to be more than 50 meters tall. The development, or ocean curve, stands ignoring the water of Arctic Bay, and the neighborhood Nunavut people group have named it Karlingua, which signifies like jeans in Inuktitut. The curve looks so stunning that the vast majority who saw its photo trusted it to be photoshopped. 4 Canadian geologists have inspected the photograph of the ocean curve and concur that they had never observed such a development in the Arctic before, but after a data advocate with the Unikarvik Visitor Center connected with her sources, she had the option to confirm that the curve exists. Some trust it to be a holy landmark and a few the travel industry organizations were eager to elevate it to their clients. It stays puzzling, nonetheless, exactly how this structure stayed avoided the world for such a long time, taking into account that the travel industry organization a short time later expressed they had taken gatherings of visitors to the curve for as far back as 3 years. 2 The Hobbits, Flores Island. In 2003 fossils of Homo floresiensis were found on Flores Island. The fossils were little to the point that they were named the Hobbits of Flores Island. The disclosure quickly touched off discussion about whether the fossils were the remaining parts of an obscure part of early people or rather present-day people attacked by disease. In life, these creatures remained at under 4 feet tall and their minds were 33% the size of current people. In spite of this, be that as it may, they ate meat, traversed the sea to make the island their home and worked with homemade stone instruments. It is accepted that they may have experienced our own species on the off chance that they existed as of late as 50,000 years back, considering Homo sapiens are thought to have arrived at Australia around 65,000 years ago. The starting point of the hobbits stay obscure, be that as it may, as does their destiny. It is yet to be resolved where precisely they fit into the transformative family tree and what made them vanish. 1 Mystery Box, Santa Cruz Island. Dr. Cary Q. Stanton never wedded and in the long run deserted NYC to live on his family's farm on Santa Cruz Island in 1957. He was to some degree unpredictable, and on the uncommon events he had guests over to the farm he would follow an inflexible calendar and anticipate that his visitors should cling to it too. Supper would be served at 7:30 p.m., espresso and treats at 8:30 p.m. and he would immediately resign to bed at 9 p.m. Stanton kicked the bucket on the 8th of December 1987 and was covered in the island's private burial ground. His will expressed that the farm be left to the Nature Conservancy, who might supervise exercises on the island. In April 1990, a metal box was found in a shed on the farm. Inside it were seriously deteriorated human remains that was fundamentally only a stack of cinders. Close by the remaining parts were sets of dentures going back to the 50s, an apparel clasp going back to the 40s and a precious stone-studded ring going back to before the Second World War. Tests were done on the pieces of bone found, and it was built up the remaining parts had a place with an old female who in all probability kicked the bucket not long after the war. While Stanton was never accepted to have been liable for the lady's demise, it stays indistinct why her remaining parts were in a metal box on the farm. She has additionally never been recognized.